Hello and welcome to a finally released second video. It's been months and months since my first video and I have to apologize for that. I thought that I would be releasing a lot more videos and a lot faster. However, with work, school and writing my blog, I've been quite overwhelmed with work recently. However, right now it's vacation thankfully and I have a lot of time, so I'm hoping to release more videos. Following on from my first video of the student costs of living in Seoul, I wanted to cover another topic related to students. This time, student housing in Seoul. My most popular blog article, and my most popular blog article for like the last 6 months or 8 months, has been student housing in Seoul. So I wanted to talk about that today because obviously a lot of people are very interested in it. So if you have already read the blog article, today's video might not be that helpful for you, as it will mainly be reiterating what was said in the article, except in a different format for anybody who might prefer video or listening instead of reading. So I wanted to go over the different types of student housing available in Korea, as well as some of the benefits and downsides of each type of student housing. And finally, hopefully, I want to go over a few ways to find housing in Seoul, and a few aspects associated with coming to Seoul and moving into an apartment. So I wanted to start by talking about Goshiwons. Goshiwons are one of the most common housing types in Korea and perhaps the easiest. A Goshiwon is essentially an off-campus dormitory in that they're quite small, often just a few meters by a few meters, but they're also cheap and fully furnished, making them easy to move into. So the biggest benefits of a Goshiwon are that with an apartment or with a studio, you often have to sign a contract, and this contract states how long you have to pay the rent for that studio. So if I move into a studio with a 2-year contract, I have to pay rent for 24 months. If I don't pay rent, then I either have to find somebody to replace me or have some consequences. So with a Goshiwon, on the other hand, you usually don't have any contract and you can move in, and provided you give the owner some warning, you can move out when you want. So this makes Goshiwons ideal for people who are in Korea for a shorter period of time, say an exchange student or somebody who's looking for an apartment but wants somewhere to stay in the meantime. So the second benefit to a Goshiwon is that they come fully furnished. This means that when you move into a Goshiwon, you don't have to worry about getting furniture. They'll come with a desk, they'll come with a fridge, they'll come with a bed, they'll come with everything that you need to live comfortably there. On the other hand, while many studio apartments in Korea do come at least partly furnished, there aren't that many that come fully furnished with everything that you need. For example, the apartment I'm in now came with a desk, came with a bed, came with obviously bathroom area, so shower, toilet, washing machine, everything associated with a bathroom or laundry. However, it didn't come with any shelves, and I had to go out and buy shelves and clothing racks and things like that. A Goshiwon, on the other hand, will come with all of those things and you don't have to worry about them. The exception to this rule is that Goshiwons usually have a shared kitchen and laundry area. This means that you'll be sharing the kitchen with other people from either the floor or from the whole Goshiwon. If you do like to cook a lot, this obviously isn't ideal because you often have other people there and sometimes it can be dirty or loud, etc. So if you want to cook a lot or you enjoy cooking, then moving into a studio is probably your best option. On top of that, the laundries are usually shared. However, this isn't a big deal as a lot of people actually, even in studio apartments, use shared laundry stores. Like there's one just down the road from me, even though I have a washing machine. I sometimes use it just to make sure my clothes are properly clean. The third biggest benefit to a Goshiwon is that you only have to pay one bill, which is your rent. Sometimes, in rare cases, you will have to pay maybe electricity or gas, but typically a Goshiwon will not have any extra fees. You simply pay for your rent, and that comes with internet, electricity, gas, water, etc. In a studio apartment, sometimes these are included, but more often than not, you have to pay for all of these separately. This means that a studio apartment where let's say your rent is 400,000 will cost a lot more than 400,000 per month. It might actually be 500,000 or 550,000 because you have to pay all of your utilities on top of the rent fee. On the other hand, Goshiwons have all of this included. And not only does this mean that it's cheaper, but it's also easier. You don't have to worry about any bills, you don't have to worry about setting up your internet. It's all already there. Believe me, in summer and winter, not having to worry about the price of your AC and your heating is fantastic. A Goshiwon is almost worth it alone just because of that. Another fantastic reason to live in a Goshiwon is that normally they're located very close to universities. Since Goshiwons need to be where the students are, You can often find them in prime locations where studio apartments are insanely expensive. And there's also tons of Goshiwon options around every university. So if you want to move somewhere and have a lot of options, definitely check out Goshiwons because they'll be located in places that you might not be able to get a studio apartment. While Goshiwons are great, there are however a few downsides that you should probably be aware of before moving in. Before I go through the downsides, I just want to give you a warning and say, if you're moving into a Goshiwon, don't do it online. Come to Seoul first, visit the Goshiwon, and check that you actually want to live there before moving in. While there's lots of fantastic Goshiwons, I also know of a few which have been dirty or smell bad and things like that. And since you can move into Goshiwons normally on the same day that you go to them and visit them and say you want to move in, just go to the Goshiwons when you come to Seoul, visit a few and see where you want to stay. Don't book them online because you have a chance of getting somewhere that you really do not like. The biggest two downsides to Goshiwons are that they're small and that they often have rules. Goshiwons are often only big enough to fit a bed and a desk and a very small walking space, and as such they can feel very cluttered. So if you don't like small spaces, a Goshiwon is definitely not a good idea. On top of that, Goshiwons also often have rules. Say everywhere has rules, but Goshiwons have particular rules such as often no eating in the rooms or no having visitors. While these rules depend on the Goshiwon in question, this is another reason why I would highly recommend visiting the Goshiwons in person before moving in. You definitely want to know about these rules before you move in because it can give you a very unpleasant stay if you move in and then you find something that you didn't know about beforehand. Finally, the biggest downside to Goshiwons, at least in my opinion, is that Goshiwons are often not soundproof, and since you're living so close to other people, they're very compact. You can often hear your neighbours or people in the hallway. Obviously, once again, this depends on the Goshiwon in question and your neighbours. This can be a big downside, so just keep it in mind when you're looking to move into a Goshiwon. So for these reasons, Goshiwons are fantastic for somebody looking to save money on housing, or somebody who doesn't know how long they'll be in Korea for, or knows they'll be here for a short period of time. Since Goshiwons don't have contracts and they don't have the stress associated with all the extra bills, they're also a very easy option, and I know that many people choose to live in Goshiwons just because of the ease. However, if you're looking for somewhere bigger or somewhere with a bit more freedom, you can definitely consider looking at a studio apartment. Studio apartments in Korea begin at about 300,000 won per month, but they often require a deposit or key money. So this deposit is money that you put in at the start, say 3 million won or about $3,000, and then when you move out, when you finish your contract, you'll get the money back. Usually the higher your deposit, the less your rent, and often this can be negotiated with the house owners. So for example, for my apartment, I paid 3 million deposit, which is about $3,000, and 400,000 every month, so about $400 per month. However, if I had more money to deposit, I could have put down a 10 million won deposit, or about $10,000, and only be paying 300,000 or $300 monthly. So this allows you some freedom to decide on what type of pricing you choose. Obviously, this is up to the landlord or owner, and they will decide on what options are available to you. But often it's worth discussing with them if you think that you either can't afford the deposit or you'd prefer to pay more and have less rent. While studios offer you a lot more freedom to do what you want and often have visitors or pets and things like that, you also have to worry about the extra stress of having to pay for all your different bills. And I know a lot of people are used to that. However, in Korea, paying these bills is much the same as any other country, except that it can be difficult to a lot of people first coming to Korea simply because the system is different and it is usually in Korean. So for example, for me, I have to pay internet, water, electricity and gas. And depending on the month, the amount that these bills cost can change a lot. If you want to see the costs that I pay every month and what an average student can expect to pay, go and check out my first video and that will explain everything to you clearly. So the biggest benefits to a studio apartment are just that you have a lot more freedom, they're a lot bigger, and they usually come with washing machines and kitchens. So unlike a Goshiwon, if you move into a studio you can cook regularly and usually often don't have to worry about going out to wash your clothes. This is great if you like staying at home and not going out too often. So perhaps the most important part of this video, and definitely the part that I get asked the most about, is how do you find housing in Korea? A lot of people try to find housing online before coming to Korea, And while this is natural, obviously you want to have some certainty when you come to Korea, I think it's actually not the best option. Because online there are not many websites, especially not many in English, and usually their options are quite limited or expensive. Since these websites know that they are the only options for foreign students to look at, they often charge more than you would find at a local realtor. So my advice here is this: rather than looking for housing online, come to Korea, say, a week early before you start university or work, and in that week look for some housing. Seriously, a week in Korea is enough to find any house you want. I moved into this studio on the same day that I moved out of my last studio, and that includes looking, like browsing for different studios, signing the contract, and physically moving all of my things here. It's that fast. In Korea, things move very fast. So my advice is to come to Korea a week early and look through the local realtors, because the local realtors will not only have a lot more options, but usually you can also find much cheaper housing. Obviously, the biggest downside to this is that most of these realtors only speak Korean. If you're in a more populated area, then you will have English-speaking realtors, maybe a place such as Yonsei University or Korea University. You can find English-speaking realtors around those locations. However, in a lesser known area or a less popular area, it can often be hard to find English-speaking realtors. If this is the case, I recommend asking a friend who's fluent in both English and Korean if they can help you. When I moved into this apartment, I asked one of my friends and offered to pay them for helping me for the day. I believe I paid them $150, and for the day, which was about 6 hours, we went through some different apartments, we looked around, and then they helped me translate the contract, just to make sure there was nothing that I didn't understand in there, or something that could possibly hurt me later on. So that got the contract sorted, and from there I didn't really need any more communication with the realtor. There are professional translation options. However, after being asked this question many times, I've looked through the options online and they seem to be very expensive. So if you don't have anybody who's willing to translate for you, you can go to my website and contact me if you want. I can give you some more options that might be possibilities to help translate and make the process a bit easier for you. Unfortunately, there aren't many English options when it comes to finding student housing in Seoul. While there are English-speaking realtors located around the city, usually they're around areas which are more popular, such as Yonsei University, Korea University, etc., all of the big universities. However, if you're going somewhere else, then it can be quite difficult to find an English-speaking realtor. On top of that, all of the websites with lots of housing options are also in Korean. You have some apps such as Dabang and Jikbang, which are both in Korean completely, unfortunately, and if you want to use them, you really will need somebody to help you out with them. However, there are a few English websites, and I will link them down below. But if you really want the best options, I once again would highly recommend asking a friend to translate for you and going around to some local realtors. Because they tend to not promote or advertise as much, often their housing options will be a lot cheaper than what you'll find on the English websites. And as such, even if you have to pay a friend or somebody to help you, usually that money is worth spending because you will have not only more options, you have better options, and you may even get cheaper deals in the end. However, if your options aren't limited to studio apartments, you'll generally have quite a few English options. For example, if you're looking for a Goshiwon or share house, you'll often find a lot of English options out there because for these businesses to attract foreigners, they know that they need to be able to speak English. So if you're okay living in a share house or a Goshiwon, then there are many options out there and you shouldn't have any trouble at all finding English-speaking places that you can talk to and look around. In the end, it really depends on what you want. There are so many housing options available in Korea, and while studios are the preferred option of many, they can bring a lot more difficulties. The good news is that once you've moved into a studio, once you've initially got everything settled, say the contract and how to pay your bills and everything, they usually become very easy to live in, and there's nothing to worry about from then.